Welcome to another edition of our podcast, Who Closed Last Night, brought to you by Walnut Street Hospitality Group. My name is Stan, and
my name is Zach.
so you got Stan and Zach here to entertain you for a little bit, hopefully to enlighten you a little bit. Maybe you can enlighten us a little bit. But at the end of the day, we are a podcast about businesses, small business, leadership, management. Did I leave anything out?
And just how to be cool.
And just how to be cool. So be one of the cool kids and do us a favor. Right now, we want you to stop what you're doing.
Stop everything you're doing. Follow, like, and share this video. Subscribe to our channel. You can find us on Instagram at whoclosedlastnight_, TikTok at whoclosedlastnight_, Facebook at whoclosedlastnight. You can watch us on YouTube at Who's Closed Last Night Podcast. You can listen to us on Spotify at Who Closed Last Night. And the most important thing of it all is you can send your own Who Closed Last Night story of the day, the week, the hour, your most memorable experience when you're out there in the industry on the battlefield. And you can send it to us. We can cry, laugh, and just talk story with you. So please share it. Who Closed Last Night Pod at gmail.com.
So anyway, today's topic, and this is one of those things I think everybody talks about, is leadership versus management. And I guess what I would tell you is, leadership is one thing, management is another. But if you can figure out a way in your soul, in your inner being, to combine the two, you will be one kick-ass leader. And we're not going to say manager, we're going to say leader.
You got to manifest it. You got to just push it all together and become the one.
So the question is, what's the difference?
Oh man. You want me to say what I think the difference is?
Tell me what you think the difference is.
So I think a manager is someone that manages something that they were told to manage, right? They're managing this timeline. They're managing a budget. They're managing payroll, right? I think a leader is someone that sets the tone, creates a culture, and rallies everybody with excitement to complete what they need to complete, to make sure you're in the trenches with them.
Yeah.
You're saying, come on, guys, we're going to go kick this ass. You're not pointing from a desk saying, hey, get over there.
So it's funny you said that. I read this book one time, and this was it was a fiction novel, but it was written with shreds of reality to it. It's one of those SEAL team kind of things. But the phrase that comes to mind always when I think about that book or other books similar to that from a leadership standpoint is leading from the front. And to me, leading from the front is not just sitting there telling people what to do. It's helping them to do what they have to do. It's showing them a way, maybe a better way, maybe a different way. It's clear communication about what needs to happen. And you're there with a hand to pull them up when they might stumble.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. You're the support net.
You're not only the support net, but you're the support net that's in front of them. And I think that's, when they see you charging with them towards whatever goal that it is, you're no longer just someone, as in the old days they used to say, sitting in an ivory tower, right? And I think that is really what's important. So I'm sure you can give me some, examples of different people that you've known that have been either a manager or a leader. But then who do you know, like you've had mentors, which were they? And were they leaders? Were they managers? Or did they combine those two titles, so to speak, to be able to get through to you to make you successful?
Well, I think I've, for the first part of the question, I think that I've come across people that I've put on one of the teams and I expected them to be a leader and they turned out to be a manager. And I think that there's something in somebody that kind of you're either a leader or you're not, right? You can be a manager, and I'm not saying you can't grow to be a leader. I'm saying you either know how to be a leader and you're going to lead people, or you're just managing the situation until someone comes along and helps develop you, right? And that would be a leader, to develop somebody into, better themselves as a leader.
Okay.
But a manager would come in and say, they'll put together their schedule, they'll send out their order to the vendor, they'll do whatever cleaning checklist they've got to do there. But I found that they won't read between the lines. Like if there's something blatantly obvious, like something got spilled in a reach-in cooler, but it wasn't on the cleaning list, right? That's just a kind of like a low level thing, but it's about the initiative, right? It's about being aware of what's happening, and then since you're aware of it, something happened. So what are you going to do in response to that happening, right? And I think that's a characteristic of a leader, right? That something happens, they react. Something needs to happen, they take the initiative, right? Someone's not pulling their weight, they'll pull them aside and take action on it. Say, hey, it looks like maybe you're unsure of the next step. How can I help you make you feel more comfortable, right? Have you seen this cleaning list? Can I walk you over here and show you it, right? Make sure everybody's on the same page.
I think so. I use kind of a simplistic description of that, and I think in my generally
Yes.
speaking, I think a manager checks off a list. I think a leader can create that list
Okay.
and can adjust the list and
Pivot.
right?
Ah,
Pivot. That's
pivot.
right. That's right. Big word there. Pivot. in my opinion, that's what differentiates a leader from a manager.
Yes.
You know, in when I was in the hotel industry, it used to be kind of interesting to interview different managers for hotels from different companies. And we used to, or I guess I shouldn't say we anymore, but I used to say what I found to be true is Marriott, which now has combined with so many other hotel groups to be huge. But before Marriott did all these mergers, I would say that if you were looking for someone to check a list, hire a Marriott manager because they have an excellent training program,
Yeah.
and there's a list for everything. Right?
Yeah.
They have a list for that, a list for this, a list for whatever you need. There is a list for. If you're buying a hotel or operating a hotel that's a non-branded, it's not a Sheraton, a Marriott, a Hilton, a Holiday Inn, and it's its own brand.
Mm-hmm.
You need someone that can think beyond a list, right? And I think for all of our entrepreneurs out there, your business didn't come with the checklist. It came with an idea. It came with something in your head, right? Something that says, "I can do this. I can make this successful. I can be successful." But then you had to create
The supporting documents.
the plan. You had to make it something that other people could follow.
Yes.
And that's, I think, what the difference between a leader is and a manager. And leaders will assume the responsibility rather
I
than
like that. They will assume it
they
naturally.
will assume it naturally rather than have to be told that that's their responsibility.
Right.
I know. So you've said that there's managers that you've brought on board that you thought were leaders,
Right.
right? Tell me about a leader that came on, or a manager that came on board that became a leader.
So I have this and a manager, an area manager, and I think that he started off obviously in a store, but he showed that he could do more than just manage one unit, right? Manage his own schedule, manage his own ordering from the vendors, manage his own hiring. But there were signs, right? He would help somebody work on their hiring paperwork, or he would say, "Hey," managers meeting where we come and talk about the performance of the previous week. You say, you know what I did to help out this cost that I was working on was I ordered it like this, and then I did this, right? Shared strategy, right? And I think when you start seeing that, that means they're not only being successful in their realm of responsibility, but they're helping other people be successful at what they need to accomplish. And so that doesn't answer your question, but I think that's why this person stuck out,
Okay.
right? And then we decided to give him an opportunity, and I think that there's been constant development, even myself. But I think the thing that he has shown that's made him a leader was that he takes accountability for each of the different teams and their leadership. And it might not be his direct team or what he's doing, what he thought he was going to do that day, but if he's needed and something needs to happen, he makes himself available and makes sure that everybody gets across the finish line.
So do you think if you is that an example then of someone that was hired as a manager and then became a leader? Would you say that that's
Yes.
the case? How frequent does that happen?
I think finding a leader is almost like finding a needle in a haystack.
Really?
In this day and age, I think that people, you stand out, you get hit with the hammer, right? And I know that that's kind of a stupid metaphor, but I think people are comfortable just being average, just going with the flow, right? It takes someone special to say, hey, you can't do that, or I need you to do it this way, or we don't do that because X, Y, and Z, right? Explain it, provide knowledge, or just take on that upset customer and make them leaving great reviews talking about how great the customer service was. But I think it takes someone that's going to take the initiative and hold themselves accountable to the decision or the expectation that they need to obtain.
I think another thing that I would say about leadership or leaders is they're willing to listen. So somebody might have another way of doing it, and they're willing to listen to it, even if they don't decide to change what they're going to do. They're strong enough to listen to it and strong enough to say, "Well, look, let me explain to you that this is why we do it that way." And I bet 9 out of 10 times when that happens, the person whose idea didn't get accepted gets a greater understanding of why something is done that way. And I think that's what leaders do is they give people a greater understanding rather than a longer checklist.
There you go. Yeah.
Everybody hates checklists, right? But managers love to bury themselves in a checklist because it alleviates them from having to think as a leader,
Yes.
right? So obviously that's an opinion, and you can throw tomatoes at your own screen. I'm okay with that. But that's what we're looking for is the difference between leadership and management. And that seems to be the biggest, I guess, area of confusion because I think when you hire a manager, don't you always think that they're going to be your leader?
Yes. Yes. And it's something you got to remain objective of because the first couple weeks, you've just got to remain diligent, stay objective, and help get this person onboarded and in their role. But they'll start to show their true colors soon enough.
Yes. I think another way to tell the difference between a leader and a manager is when they get hired. And this is again just from personal experience. People that are true managers come in, and the first thing that they do is nothing. They want to see what they want to observe and wait, and they don't want to make an impact. They want to see, and I get that because there's a certain amount of truth to that, right? You don't want to come in with your guns blazing when you don't know what the target is. But I think a true leader comes in the door as a leader.
Yes.
They might wait before they start making changes, but if someone comes in late and it's your first shift as a leader, they're going to address that person who came in late.
Yes.
A manager kind of says, well, I didn't want to say anything because it's only my first day here. And that to me is, I guess, like just a black and white. This is a difference between a leader and a manager. A leader makes a difference. A manager waits to be told to make a difference.
Yes.
So I don't know what your thoughts are out there in the world of entrepreneurs and business owners, but I'm sure this is a topic that that we're probably going to get some response from, more response than what we typically get. So the lesson of this podcast is quite simply: is it better to hire a leader or a manager, or would you rather have a combination of the two? And the lesson is, if you have a choice, take the leader and teach them how to manage, because sometimes you can't teach a manager how to lead.
I couldn't have said it better. But what I could say better is, everybody stop what you're doing. Follow, like, and share this podcast. You can find us on Instagram at whoclosedlastnight_, Facebook at whoclosedlastnight, YouTube at whoclosedlastnightpodcast, TikTok at whoclosedlastnight_. You can listen to us on Spotify, and the most important of all is send us your Who Closed Last Night story. Maybe it's a story about leadership and management. Maybe it's just man, I work for this place and this is how they handled their business and I was appalled, right? Whatever your story is, share it with us at whoclosedlastnightpod@gmail.com, and we'd love to talk about it, discuss it, laugh with you, cry with you, and thank you guys for supporting us.
So now, since we've been talking about you giving us some feedback, we're going to read some feedback that came in and give a little feedback on the feedback. So this came in from one of our followers, and this was in regards to third-party reviews. And in our podcast, we were saying that a lot of, or I shouldn't say a lot of, that's being really liberal with thinking, but many times the negative reviews that come to a business are not by an individual, are just either an opinion, personal opinion, which of course a review is sort of a personal opinion. But if you're going to broadcast it to the world on social media, there should be more than your personal opinion to it, right? And I think we had talked about how I know that when we typically get negative reviews, we go look at the person who gave the review. So, for example, on Yelp, if it's Donnie whoever,
Negative Nancy was what I was going to say.
Negative Nancy, or something like that, we go and look up Negative Nancy and see and read the rest of their reviews. And typically, and when I say typically, I'm probably saying 70-75% of the time, most of those reviews that Negative Nancy wrote are negative, right? It's not. It's their way of saying I'm important.
I know better.
I know better. I'm a chef. I'm a bartender. I'm a retail specialist. And so anyway, this came across, and we're not going to say who it came from, but it says, it's a simple fact of psychology that a negative experience is 8 times as likely to motivate you to talk about it than a positive experience. That's because a positive experience at a service establishment is an expectation. It's what you're paying for. And I would say that's everyone's hope, right? That's what the hope is you're going to go to this establishment. You're going to have a great time.
Yes. And
everything's going to be wonderful. And I kind of would say back to this person, are you perfect?
Right.
Is everything that you do error-free? And do you want 8 times the amount of people talking about the times that you messed up? I would say the answer is no. And I would also say that what's that saying? You get more bees with honey than you do vinegar, right? Yes. And I think we all want to get to the honey,
Yes.
right? But we can't do it's hard when you operate a business to please millions of people or thousands of people because everyone's different.
Right.
And if I said, okay, well, let's rate our customers. Every one of our customers is different. How am I going to rate them, right?
I'm glad you said that because not only is every customer different, every customer is walking through that door with a different expectation.
Oh my
right?
gosh.
It's not a concise expectation. You know, you go to McDonald's, you get burgers and fries, right? We understand that, but does negative Nancy and positive Paul have different expectations of service level to where they're going, right? It's
Right.
not the same expectation. So just I understand what this person is trying to get across, but not every guest has the same expectation of a business.
And why does it have to be that you only make a big deal out of negative experiences,
Right.
right? Why can't you say, oh my God, I went to that place and it was unbelievably wonderful, right? Or just say it was good and the food was a solid 4 and the service was a solid 5 and the
Could have been
ambiance
cleaner.
could have been cleaner. Whatever it is,
Yeah.
does it have to go from a 1 to a 5?
Right.
I think there's that.
Extreme sides of the spectrum, right?
That's right. That's right. And you can look at, you know, I don't know. So, and I just use Yelp because it's probably the one that most people recognize the most. But, you know, they have their Yelp Elite.
Yes.
And I think that,
Those are the Yelpers with teeth.
yes. And so it can be good or bad. Like,
Yes.
so they're great reviews. People listen to them. They're bad reviews. People listen to them. But I think what people mistake is they're not a food critic or they're not a service critic, right? They're coming to tell you a personal opinion. And I think that's what the hardest thing to understand is people that want to tell 8 times the amount of people that it
Yes.
was negative, you know, look inward. Just look inward. That's
No
all I got
aloha.
to say. You know, you can't be perfect. You're not perfect. The businesses aren't perfect. Cut them a break just like they cut you a break. And I could get off this. I need to get off of this soapbox right now and get to wrapping this thing up. But one of the things for sure is we want you to follow us. We want you to like us. And, you know, you'll see on the podcast how to do all of that. At the end of the day, we care about you. We like your opinion. We might not agree with your opinion. You might not agree with us. But that's life, and that's what it's all about. So instead of talking your ear off, we're going to do one more thing, and we're going to leave you with one word, and that word is aloha.
Aloha.